Hello, this is Deborah Yao with Redirecting, and I'm going to be talking about the subject of Africa today. Many of you may remember that Watchman and I did an address to Africa earlier this year sometime, and the reason we did that is because there's a lot of, I would say, friction between the tribe of Judah and those in Africa, and we see it played out many times on the internet. And so we did that address to let our brothers and sisters in Africa know that not all of us feel the way that some of the Israelite camps feel about our brothers and sisters in Africa. We do realize that the majority of the tribes are still in Africa. Now, that being said, I've been noticing a lot of activity on the internet surrounding the relationship between Africans and African Americans, specifically us. Not necessarily the relationship between Africans and those in European countries or those in Canada or those even in the South American regions or in the islands, but specifically between Africans and African Americans. And I thought it was kind of interesting why there is this push and this drive to try to unite with us. Now, I have many things that I'm going to say about this, and I'm going to try to be as neutral as possible. And hopefully those of you who look at this can understand where I'm coming from and be able to look at things from both sides, okay? First of all, I do believe that prophecy states when the two nations are going to be brought back together, being the tribe of Judah that has been scattered all over the world, not just here in America, but in other regions of the world as well. Prophecy states when it's going to take place and what is going to surround that bringing back together of the two nations, the nation of Judah and the nations of Israel. Prophecy shows. And so there is absolutely nothing we can do to cause this to happen. First of all, the tribe of Judah is so divided among ourselves. How are we going to unite with our brothers and sisters in Africa when we can't even unite with each other? That's the first thing. So I believe we try to step outside of prophecy when we try to do too much, okay? Now, that's not to say that we are not to deal with one another, because I will be the first to say that I love my African brothers and sisters. I love my American brothers and sisters. I love my sisters and brothers in Europe. I love those in South America, those in Canada. I know people all over the world. And to me, I feel like we are all family. Some of us feel that way, but some of us, not quite there yet. And it's going to take divine intervention to get us there, right? Because there has been so many things to tear us apart. Now, back to the relationship between Africans and African Americans. We can't look at things from an internet perspective and think that we're going to bring each other together just based on things that are said on the internet. Being together is far more involved and intense than us just reaching out to each other on the internet. Again, prophecy tells us how and when that's going to take place. What I think we need to focus on more than anything is making sure that we are right by each other. Making sure that we are right by each other. Now, a few other things I've been noticing. I've been noticing a lot of rebuke videos going back and forth between some here in America and some in Africa, you see. Now, one thing that I want to say on both sides, like I said, I want to be fair in how I look at things when I deal with anyone. I could even be fair with Gentiles, you see. I can be fair with anyone because that is just my nature, you see. I don't think it's right to do anyone wrong. You see, I know that we have enemies within and without. I don't think it's right to do anyone wrong. I'm fully aware of how our enemies are towards us. And I'm talking about our enemies without, right? But when I have daily encounters with Gentiles, I'm not going to be rude, mean, and nasty to them just because I know what has taken place in the past and what continues to take place. Now, if I encounter someone that is racist, I'm going to deal with them accordingly. As a matter of fact, I've already had some run-ins with racists, and I've dealt with them on their level. And I'm not saying that I'm proud of that. I had a few incidents back in Michigan because again, I've never been one, even though I was very shy family, very shy, there's always something to being mistreated that causes another side of you to manifest. And so I've had some very intense encounters with racists before, and it wasn't like they thought it was going to be, because many times a person will look at you and say, oh, she's nice, she's not going to say or do anything. But maybe one day I'll get the courage to tell you all some of those encounters. But I'll just tell you, the sweet woman that you see sitting here right now, I responded to them according to how they responded to me. Okay, enough of that. Anyway, back to how we treat each other. There is a respect that is due on both sides, from those in Africa and those here in America, right? Now, I would be the first to say that a lot of our people here in America are just way in left field on how to treat one another and how to deal with one another. But that is not all of us. And to be painted with one brush, that's something that our oppressors have done to us. And so we here in America, we don't like when our own people in Africa do the same thing. We don't like that. You see, because there is a mutual respect that we owe each other, right? Now, let me tell you what I mean by this. And this is something I know to be true. And I also know that this is not the case for every last African person, because we have met some really awesome people from Africa. As a matter of fact, many of them follow our ministry, and they have been very kind to us. We've spoken with some of them by phone, and they've been very, very loving, meaning we feel like these are our brothers and sisters that are abroad. Okay, I don't feel like I'm talking to a stranger when I've spoken to some of these people and when they deal with us, right? Now, there have been some Africans that we've encountered. Now, I'm going to talk about some of my early experiences when I was a teenager living in Detroit. Okay, now, there are Africans that will come here to America, and they will literally look down on us. And my very first experience with that, I was a teenager, and some of you know that I am an artist as well. And I don't even know how I met this African man, but somehow we were at an office building somewhere doing something. I don't remember all of the details of what we were doing at the office building, but I ended up meeting this African man, and he found out that I was an artist. And he had a particular project that he was working on, and he wanted to know if I can draw up the sketches for it. And so I ended up drawing up some sketches for him, and he liked what he saw. And he ended up actually coming to our home. And what's amazing is, you see my skin tone here, right? I have a younger brother who is, I'm going to say, African dark. Now, this African man said to me, he said, now, your brother, he is a pure African. You're not pure. You're watered down. But he's pure. He's real. And I remember how that made me feel. And I could tell when he was saying this, he wasn't trying to insult me per se. I think it was just a natural flow to where he was speaking his mind, and it really didn't cross his mind that what he was saying to me was insulting, saying that my brother is pure, but I'm not pure. I'm watered down. And of course, I know this to be true, but the way he said it made me feel some kind of way back then. You know, here I am, I'm doing this artwork for you, for this project that you're working on. I'm good enough to do your artwork, but then you felt the need to tell me that I was not pure, while looking at my brother telling me that he is, because he's darker than I. Okay, that was my first encounter. But I've had many encounters with Africans to where they have been very rude, and they will look down on you because they feel that they are better than you. And they don't understand that we are cut from the same cloth. We are all from our forefather Jacob. But we are in our period of chastisement. We have been exiled from our land. All of us have been exiled from our land, but we have been sent into our captive lands. And so we are experiencing things that they are not experiencing. Of course, they have their own brand of oppression, in which I can remember looking across the waters and thinking that all Africans were the same. This was before I knew all of the variations of people and tribes. Growing up a Christian, you don't know that there's a difference. All you know is that they're black and I'm black, right? And so I would look at the children of Ham and, not making any type of separation. I would feel intense love and pity in my heart and just felt like I wish I could do something, right? And so that's just the way I am, period. You see, and there's a lot of us that are like this. A lot of people, when they look across the water at the tribe of Judah, and right now I'm talking about our own people, the other tribes of Israel, right? Many of you look across the water and you study us. You study our behaviors, our bickerings among each other. You study our spending patterns and what we listen to, how our personas. You study our reactions and all of these things. And so you get a chance to know us from viewing us from across the water. It used to be a time where the only thing that Africans knew about us was what they were told by the white man. But see, now YouTube has made it to where we could show the best or the worst to the world. And so even the other tribes are studying us. They study what we believe, what we know, how we teach, how we move, how we walk, how we treat each other. And so when they see us treating each other a certain way, they believe that they too can say and do certain things as well. Like I said, there were some rebukes that came out of Africa that just kind of, all came together at the same time. And I saw our people here responding to those rebukes. As I started seeing this stuff, I started looking, I'm like, what the heck is going on? These people are explaining what they witnessed, and these people are explaining. And I'm seeing the American side of things. And then I go and I look at the African side of things. And from the African perspective, it is their belief that they have been trained better and that they have a better culture and better upbringing. And if we are being honest, there is some truth to that, right? There is some truth to that. I can admit that because, I saw an article where they were talking about the difference in behavior of African children versus African American children. There is clearly a difference. But the problem comes in when our people who speak on these things do not take into consideration the situation that we are in here in this captive land. Many of us, especially myself and my family, we have expressed a deep interest in wanting to go to Africa and live there and be among our own people. We have expressed that interest, but we have concerns about doing that as well because the culture is different, definitely. There were some people who went to a certain region in Africa from the U.S. There was one particular story where this mother and daughter, they moved there and they started the business there. And there were some Africans who got jealous of them and they killed them with a machete. These two women were from the city of Detroit, where I grew up, right? And so they go to Africa thinking they're going to have a better life, in which for the majority of the time that they were there, things were better for them. But I'm pretty sure they didn't expect to lose their lives in the way that they did. Now, that's not to say that Africa is just this horrible, violent place. I'm just saying that there are other things that we have to consider. They don't have the same systems in place, like welfare systems and things of that nature, that are in place here. And so if you don't have the money to go there, Africa can be very expensive. I've talked with a number of Africans who have expressed this. We had an African sister who used to be a member of our homeschool network years ago, and she explained how expensive it was to live in Accra, Ghana. Many of us want to go there, but she said it's just like moving to Seattle. I'm sorry, not Seattle, but moving to San Francisco. The prices are extremely high there, and she said in Accra, Ghana and areas around there are extremely expensive as well. And so she said there's more to moving here than just getting a plane ticket, getting all your belongings shipped over there, and saying, okay, I'm going to buy me a house and all of this. It's not that simple. I wish there was a simpler way to do things because I would prefer being there. But in order to bridge the gap between Africa and African Americans, we have to understand, first of all, it's not just a gap to be bridged between us, because our people are all over this planet. It's not just us here in America. There are those in South America. There's those in Canada, those in Europe, Canada and Europe. And so it leads me to wonder many times when I look at us here in America, because everyone studies us. I mean, even there was a guy who came from Egypt, and he wanted to identify as black when he got here. But white people told him, no, we're going to put you down as white because you're from Egypt. He says, no, I'm black. I'm very clearly black. And so he had to fight to be called black. But one thing he noticed, he said that they told him, you're not like them. You're not like them. Talking about us, black people here in America. Even some of the black people in South America. I remember someone said, they told their American husband that I'm not like those American women. Right? And these are other black people saying this. And so there is this thing going on to where even black people in other areas want to deal with us a certain way, in some cases disrespect us and talk down on us and generalize us. And I don't think that that's fair to generalize us or disrespect us, especially when we have enough of that already going on within. Okay, we are trying to mend the relationship that we have within right here. And so to have those in Africa or those in South America or other regions of the world looking down on us here, you are not helping things. That is not helping to bridge any gap, okay? Because a lot of our people were offended by these things. As a matter of fact, a few weeks ago, there was an African brother, and I get where he came from. I understand where he came from. I had his name written down. I was going to speak about this some time ago, but I just kind of put it off to the side. I was going to address a statement because what he was saying was true. He was basically saying that the way black men here in America treat their women is quite different than how African men treat their women. But within saying that, he also inserted the insults, right? This is because our people don't understand. When I say our people, I'm talking about those in Africa, those in South America, those in other regions. Many of you don't understand the magnitude of the oppression that we experience here. Yes, you all have oppressions in your area. You all were colonized at one point, but many of your areas are now just dealing with basically European tourists. There's still some rulership, but you're not surrounded every day like we are, right? And the worship that, I'm going to say this part too, the worship that a lot of Africans have for Europeans. There was a brother who left a statement. I wish I brought that statement with me too, but he left a statement. He said he's actually sent us a message, and he was saying that a lot of people in Africa are still lost, still literally worshiping white Jesus, white people. And when they come into their presence, there's this reverence that they give them automatically. I heard the same thing about those in Jamaica. Same thing. Now, we know that happens here in the U.S. as well, but I have yet to see any so-called black person here in America following around a white man that's dressed up like Jesus, okay, and literally worshiping him on sight. I have yet to see that here in America. We know better than that, right? Now, this is not an us and them type thing that I'm trying to speak of here. I'm trying to talk about mutual respect and understanding what each other have had to endure. I have a great deal of respect for my brothers and sisters in Africa. Again, many of you follow our ministry and have been in contact with us, have spoken to us, and know that we love you all. You see, Sister Kaganu, she's always emailing us. She's in our chat a lot. And the couple from the Bimaliki tribe that we spoke to, I remember when we were going through some things, they actually called to check on us. They had our phone number from a previous conversation from earlier years. They kept our phone number, And they called to check on us to make sure that we were doing all right spiritually, because they saw some things that we were going through. And so I know that there is a love there. We even had someone contact us from one of the tribes in Africa and say that Watchman and I they would love to have us come and spend some time with them in their village. And you can imagine how that made me feel. It made me feel like, wow, I just want to go and be with my people, right? But I understand prophecy. Prophecy tells us when the two sticks or the two nations will be brought back together. Not a moment sooner will it happen. Of course, we may show expressions of love. Some of us may move to Africa. Some of you are moving here. Some of our people are moving to Europe, and just various regions. Our people are just, migrating from place to place. But as far as the gathering and the joining together, that is going to take place on the Most High's time. Prophecy is going to be fulfilled. We cannot supersede or overstep or circumvent prophecy, right? And so that leads me to this. We have to understand what is really happening when we see certain things play out before our eyes. We have to make sure that we do not have an agenda towards or against one another. Because I look at us here in America, blacks here in America, as you see, I've shown how no one really wants to be associated with us in terms of being really one with us. There was some black kids, teenagers or young adults down in South America, and they were like, I am not black. Now, some of them were darker than me, y'all. I am not black. I am from Cape Verde. They wanted to be, I'm Portuguese. They wanted to be anything but black. Now, we know that black is not a race, but basically they were trying to say we are not the same, right? And I'm not talking about those that are mixed. I'm talking about those who still maintain their Negro features. Those who are still Negro, but they just so happen to be from another region. Just like you have black Canadians, you have black Europeans, you have black South Americans, blacks in Africa. And I'm using black as a general term. I know that that is not the proper term, family. I am trying to reach everyone where they are so that you can get an understanding of what I'm trying to articulate here. But there is something about the tribe of Judah that no one really wants to associate with us in that way, but everyone wants to tap into the black market because everyone studies us and knows that we are liquid money. Everyone knows that the tribe of Judah are liquid money. So they are trying to tap into this market. We are a market for the world. The Asians look at us as a market to tap into. The Pakistanians look at us as a market to tap into. Africans look at us as a market to tap into. Every group around the world looks at us as a market to tap into because they know and they have studied us. They study our spending patterns, our behaviors, all of that. And so they will say and do whatever needs to be said and done in order to tap into this black market. Understand what I'm saying, family. And that is the thing that just concerns me the most about those who try to unify with us. Is it real, or is it something that many of us can't see? One thing that I want you all to understand about the tribe of Judah. Judah is very, very blessed with talent and so many things. But Judah also have some things that need to be ironed out. You see, not to make excuses for us, but one thing our people don't like is rebuke. Especially when they feel like you're looking down on them, okay? Especially when they feel like you're insulting them. And I'm not making excuses for it because sometimes rebuke is necessary. But when you're coming from a position where you are one of the tribes and you're not from our tribe and you've put yourself in a position to where you have said or stated in so many words that you are better than us or that you've been raised a different way. Our people can't deal with that. And me being neutral in this, I'm just trying to get you to understand the thinking process here in America. And those of us here in America, I want you all to understand that rebuke comes because there are behaviors that need to be dealt with. But those of you in Africa who give these rebukes, whether you're leaving a comment or whether you're making a video, you have to understand that a lot of the tribe of Judah also can see the spirit behind the rebuke. And that is where you will bump heads. You will bump heads if the spirit behind the rebuke is not of the Most High. If it's something that's coming from self or a position of pride or a position of looking down on, even if that is not the intention, when it comes across that way, you're going to see the activity that you've seen on the internet. And that is the last thing the world needs to see. We're trying to bridge gaps and make bridges to mend relationships or bring people closer. But many of us have had experiences with Africans too that we can share as well. A very good friend of mine, and she may see this. Now, she is a beautiful sister, very beautiful, but she is chocolate, dark-skinned sister, long, beautiful hair, and anyone who sees her would probably assume that she could possibly be from Africa, but that she's just an incredibly beautiful woman. But she is not from Africa. But she worked with these African women who knew that she was African American. And I'm just going to share just a little bit of her experience so that you all can see where we are coming from, right? Now, she's a very smart, talented, blessed young woman, sister, in the Most High, right? She's filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, very kind. She's not ghetto, she's not ratchet, she's not ignorant, she's none of those things, right? She's not some stupid American. We've heard that too. She's none of those things. But she said that these African women wanted nothing to do with her, very rude and nasty to her. But when it came to the Beckys in the office, when it came to the Beckys, oh, they were very friendly towards them, very accommodating and very, very close, knit to them. But to her, you keep your distance. We are not the same. We are not the same. We were raised different, right? You cannot bring that kind of attitude to an American audience because what you're going to experience is backlash, and it's going to cause people to look even deeper and say, okay, what is your real purpose here? Do you really have a love for our people, or do you have another agenda? Is there something else? Did someone else send you? It's going to cause our people. I've been seeing all of these different things. There was an elder that just kind of, he really got me and my husband's attention because when we were listening to this elder speak, and I said, whoa, he was using some strong language, right? Using some very strong language. And then I saw another sister speaking, and as I read through the comments, I can see that a lot of our people were ticked off at some of these rebukes coming out of Africa. And then next thing you know, they're mentioning another guy who's a Muslim, and he is doing the same thing. He has a video, and looking in his comment section, I'm looking at all these people who are just ranting and raving about something that they witnessed. So you look at what they're talking about, and I can see it from both sides, right? I can see it from both sides, but I guess because we are used to being disrespected, that we just kind of look at it, this is definitely something that needs to be worked on. Our people here in America need to work on this. But when you say certain things, you have to understand there's going to be backlash, especially when you have those who feel like you view them as liquid money, or that you've tapped into a market of support, you see. And this is just me, without even giving any specific names. I hope that you all will understand and that you will see and you will take heed. If you feel that I'm talking to you, then please take heed to what I'm saying. When you're trying to deal with blacks here in America, we have a lot of stuff that we are dealing with as a people. And those of us here in the ministry, we are all trying to get our people on one accord here. We're trying to draw together in love and cohesion here, right? And so we are having our own challenges. And when someone from across the water issues sharp rebukes, and our people feel slighted or they feel insulted, you're going to experience a huge backlash. And that is what I have been seeing. Now, again, I have seen over the years that Watchman and I have been broadcasting, when I get any type of feedback from those from Africa, that some may consider negative, when I get any type of feedback where they're saying Americans this, Americans that, this one particular brother, he wasn't saying anything against what we were teaching about. He was saying something against how African American men treat their women versus how African men treat their women. And so with that, he threw in the insult with it. And so that is what a lot of our people are having issue with. We have problems with rebuke. I don't have an issue with rebuke because rebuke is necessary. But when you are trying to appeal to an audience, you may want to consider that when you start to say things, because again, what you have done is caused people to investigate and to determine if you are really for or against them, or if you're just really trying to tap into the liquid money black market. Because those are some of the comments that many of the disgruntled blacks were saying. Okay? A couple of the channels, brother, he calls himself Elder Rasan or something like that, and he was very visibly upset. I think he calls himself Baba too. I'm subscribed to one of his channels. And Sister Angeli, what is her name? Radical Sister. Okay, I hope I got that right. Sister Angeli. But again, I totally understand the concerns that our people have here on this side of the water. And I understand what's coming from the other side of the water too. But those of you in Africa who feel the need to rebuke, you have to understand that there are many things that are happening in Africa too that still need to be cleaned up. There are many of our people that are still following after European customs and have not completely crossed over to fully our customs. Now, of course, we know those like the Limba tribe. Many of them, they are fully engrafted into our culture, okay? But there are some in Africa that are experiencing the awakening too, that are not completely there. And so, knowing what prophecy states, the tribe of Judah is going to lead the charge in the awakening. And so, when those from the tribe of Judah, whether they know they're Judah or not, when they see rebukes coming out of Africa and they feel like they've been put down or insulted, you are not helping to bridge the gaps. So I just want you to keep that in mind. Those of you in South America, Jamaica, and all those other regions too, who we've had similar experiences with, keep that in mind as well. We have to be united in love first, okay? Because the unification of our people worldwide is not going to happen until the Most High does it. So all we can do right now is love and respect each other. Be real. Don't use and abuse each other. And don't look down on one another. Okay? Rebuke is necessary. But make sure that when you are giving rebuke, that you are not sitting in a position or in a seat to where there are things that others could look at and say, well, you're rebuking me on this attitude, but look at your attitude here, right? Look at your attitude on this right here. And especially if we are about a certain thing, if we are about the unification of our people, that is what we must support and promote. That is what we've got to be about fully, right? We've had people, and I'm just going to say this because one specific thing that was talked about is giving a platform to someone of another who is married to someone of another nation. Now, we are strongly for what the word says about that. Many of you who follow this ministry know that, okay? As a matter of fact, the series that we're doing right now, where I'm talking about they broke in while we were making love, talking about these other nations, that they want to infiltrate our love for each other. They want to stop that. And so we can't put that before our people as if it's okay. We actually had couples that have contacted our ministry. And one couple in particular, I don't know if they're going to see this because I think they've fallen off because we just basically, and I'll just tell you the story. This couple, they wanted to do some things with our ministry, and they wanted to pledge all of these finances for us to work together with them. And they felt the need to tell us that they are a mixed couple. Okay. The sister is an Israelite. The man was a Gentile, a white man. And we very politely told them no. Very politely. And we didn't even really tell them no in the sense of saying no. We just basically said that we have to be led of Yah. And this is just not the direction. We couldn't go in a direction that we know that Yah is against, because they knew what we taught, and they made it very clear that they didn't agree with our teachings on interracial marriage. They made that very clear. And we're like, it is what it is. Our teaching isn't going to change. It doesn't matter how high the pledge. I don't care what the pledge is. We are all about the truth. We have people that support our ministry, but if you withdraw your support because we are teaching something you don't agree with it, guess what? We are okay with that, because we are not going to compromise the truth for anyone for any amount of money, you see. And I know that a lot of you don't agree with our stance on interracial dating and marriage. I know you don't. And we've had a lot of contentions between our people because of that. But we will not give a platform to that. We just won't. It is what it is, family. The truth will always be. The truth is what we must promote. We are going to speak the truth regardless to whether people like it or not. In season and out of season, we are going to speak the truth. And we will try to speak it with as much love as we can. But get this, the truth is a two-edged sword. It cuts both ways. Okay, and because it cuts, we have to just take it and apply it to our lives and grow from there, because we are redirecting upward, not downward, not sideways, not diagonally, but upward. And in order to redirect upward, we've got to look at the man or the woman in the mirror and determine, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because I've been commissioned to do this? Am I doing this for money? Am I doing this for fame? Am I doing this for fortune, for gain, for notoriety? Why am I doing this? And when we can look at that person in the mirror, we can learn how to deal with everyone. Because the scripture also says this: when a man or a woman's ways are pleasing to the Most High, even his enemies will be at peace with him. Okay, family, I think I'm done with this. I hope that I have said something to help anyone who's listening, anyone who this applies to, whether you are in America, Europe, South America, Africa, China, the Netherlands, wherever you are. The word stands true. It is what it is. And with that, I will say shalom.